Welcome back to Newsmaker Live. We're taking your calls right now. We're talking environmental health and so many things that I'm learning tonight. Some of those things that, just icky, talking about rats and stuff. And we're talking about rodents. And I remember recently seeing an opossum. That's the black and white one, right? Or is that?
Yeah, you get them brown and all colors.
Yeah, but the black and white one that really looks disgusting. Well, I can't say that because people eat them.
Rat family.
Yeah, people eat.
Yeah.
What is the risk to health by consuming these?
Well, there is a risk. Once they are among the rat or related to the rat, there's a potential or possibility that they can transmit leptospirosis or other diseases. Okay, it's not just the rat, but the dog, the cat, but the possum you said. Yeah, they all can transmit leptospirosis.
But more than just these rodents, meats in general, poultry, beef, lamb, fish, they all can transmit certain organisms and diseases. And that is why it's important that there are complete inspections that are done. I'm sure when we purchase meats from the US, it has to bear a stamp that it was inspected and passed by the US veterinary department. Same thing with other countries, and same thing here when people are slaughtering, and we're just about getting into the Christmas season. Very soon we're going to see people setting up little stalls all around the road and wanting to kill their animals for Christmas and selling. These must also be inspected because they are diseases. You'd be surprised that there are a number of diseases, including tuberculosis, that can be transmitted through meats.
Yeah.
And there are people who get fish poisoning too.
We
believe because it's from the sea, it's okay, and no. So all these meats, the different types of meats that are consumed, they poses their own challenges and their own risk to human health.
But there are certain meats that one would consider safe. You're talking about beef. You're talking about mutton.
I won't say safe. Considered fit for human consumption. There are some animals set aside for humans to eat. But like Mr. Ragnanan said, they must be inspected. The poultry, all of them must be inspected and certified fit for human consumption. You cannot just look at a piece of meat and say it is safe. There are disease organisms not visible to the naked eye. There are other signs present on the meat that will tell us that something is wrong and it warrants further investigation. Right?
Yeah.
So don't just look at it for face value and say it is safe.
But what role do you play in that? Because obviously people consume products that are not inspected, and we're going into Journée Creole, this weekend, where you'll see a lot of different meats because people prepare stuff, and I would imagine that a lot of this
happens
did not get inspected.
Yeah.
Well, what we're doing is we're working very closely with the organizers of Journée Creole. Up to this afternoon, they were in my office and we were having extensive discussions as to what they need to have in place. We've been meeting with the FRC for over a month now, telling the organizers what it is that they must have. And clearly, we need to do inspections on the carcasses of the animals that would be used for food at these events. We are working with them. There is a training session tomorrow afternoon for the Marigot Bay vendors at Marigot Bay at 3 p.m. and we are going to be working with them, but it's not a foolproof system, and that is where the difficulty lies. What we've found in the past is people may slaughter an animal without notifying us, and there's no way we can know what is being used for. The other thing is that the law do not make provision for animals that are slaughtered for private consumption. So if you're going to have your family and you want to slaughter a pig or you want to slaughter a sheep or something, the law doesn't give us that authority to go and inspect that carcass. I mean, if you request, we may acquiesce to that request. But anything that is being offered for sale to the public must be inspected. And we have competent people who can do a thorough post-mortem inspection on a carcass to determine whether it is safe for human consumption.
What's the nature of the inspection, and what are you looking for, really?
The nature of the inspection is to do a complete inspection of the carcass. We spend hours at school going through abattoirs, learning all the different diseases
how they manifest themselves,
that you're likely to come across, how they are manifested in the carcass. What parts of what we do is we look at the entire lymphatic system, the lymph nodes, and disease manifests themselves differently in different lymph nodes, and that is why you have to do incisions. You have to look for different changes. You have to look for different signs within these lymph nodes. If you realize that there's a problem, you can also determine what parts of the carcass that has to be condemned, because a lymph node would drain a particular part. So it's a very complex inspection.
But surely, I mean, so many animals get slaughtered. I mean, you said the poultry as well. They have to be inspected. You have so many animals getting slaughtered for human consumption that it would be impossible to even inspect.
All of them?
Not even, I mean, I would not even venture to say all, but even the greater percentage of those
No,
meats.
we do. As a matter of fact, we work very closely with the veterinary department of the Ministry of Agriculture, and some of their officers lend assistance to the inspections. I can tell you all the poultry that is processed locally receive inspection by veterinary officers. All the meats that are offered for sale on a Friday and a Saturday receive inspection by our department. There may be one or two that go through the cracks, but generally we know the regular butchers. We have systems with them. We work with them. We know their itinerary, their schedules, and we work with that. So I can say that the majority of animals that are offered for sale are inspected, and that's why we say to consumers, when you go out and you're going to purchase local meats, ask the butcher to show you the stamp, because there is a stamp that we use to show that this product has been inspected and it is fit for human consumption.
Now that is interesting, and that's new information for me as well, that there is that stamp that you should look forward to when even by the market, right?
Yes.
When you're buying the fresh meat by the market. And what does that stamp look like? Is it something?
It's a square stamp, and it says inspected and passed, Government of St. Lucia.
Okay, and where would you find
it?
It
is on the carcass. You can see it. It's
on the
clear.
carcass, okay.
Yeah?
Inside and outside.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And we stamp on several areas on the carcass. So even if the butcher chops out a pond, there'd be a stamp somewhere else. Yeah. Same thing we say about food businesses. We tell people, when you're going to go to a restaurant, to a street food vendor, to buy food for human consumption, you need to ask that they show you that they have been licensed by the Ministry of Health. It must be placed in a conspicuous area. And if you go to an establishment and it's not licensed and they cannot show you a license, then you should have doubt. And you should not proceed to purchase food there for consumption.
We have a call. Good evening. Please go ahead with your contribution.
It is said that the rodents, like you can mix cement in flour or other things that when the rat eat it, they will constipate. I would like to know whether if that is true, and how long does it take for the rat to die while it is constipated? Or does the rat have an instinct to know that when it's constipated, it can eat certain grass to unconstipate, that it can eat flour again. So I want to know a little about that.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
I guess that's a question for you.
Well, the lip person have many ways in which they get rid of the rats. Yes, cement and flour was one of the methods they used in times past. It can still be used.
It works, does it?
It worked. The lip person have told us many times that they have mixed the cement and the flour and they kill the rats. Fine. Okay. She wants to know if the rat can eat grass to soften the stool, to soften the cement. No, that's not going to happen. What happened? The cement and the flour will get hard in the rat, and it will eventually die. Okay, the organs will become hard, cement, and yeah, that's it. They will die.
And rats can vomit, right?
Can rats vomit? I don't know. I know when we give them the poison, they breathe through their nose and the eye. Okay, they bleed. Yeah, the poison we give affects the central nervous system or the circulatory system, and they bleed to death.
Wow.
All right. So there are many different ways to kill a rat.
Yeah, there have been many non-traditional ways. Yeah. I've heard about using certain pesticides with coconuts and that kind of thing, and setting traps and different baits that have worked. But what we use at the ministry is, because rats develop bait shyness, as we've said, if they see one of their friends, colleagues die from eating a particular product, they will not consume it. So what they would do is to avoid it. You would want to use something that takes time to kill them. So what we've been using is a rodenticide that would take maybe 48 and more hours, so that they would not necessarily associate it with that one product. So they continue consuming. So it causes internal bleeding over time, and then they would die.
Okay. We have another call. Please go ahead, call out your contribution.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
It is very nice to hear people in authority use the media and make statements. Like one issue that they say, the gentleman said that the carcasses of the animals are inspected. I can say in one area in Beaufort, I have seen butchers slaughtering animals over the last few years, and the meat has never been inspected. It is maybe that's the process, but somebody is not doing their duty somewhere, and I can ascertain to that this particular butcher never has his meat inspected. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You see, people have a responsibility. You're in a business, you know that you're supposed to have this done. It is your responsibility to contact the authorities to have the, in this case, the carcasses inspected, certified, fit for human consumption. They shouldn't just go ahead and slaughter because they want to make a money. They should just do the right thing. They have a responsibility, contact the authorities to have the meat inspected.
And further, the consumers should not purchase these meats. That's why we're saying that you need to verify for yourself that it has been inspected, and therefore you have a certain amount of confidence that you are buying a product that is wholesome. What we found out is this food business is a very funny business. I remember having this one-time experience where I took issue with a particular establishment, and I did not go there as an environmental health officer. I went there as a consumer. However, I found that there were things happening that I could not allow to go on with my knowledge, and therefore I had to change hats rapidly. And the people that I was trying to protect were the people who were saying, "We want a product anyway. Why you tell him don't sell it to us? We want to buy it. We want it." And therefore sometimes you don't get that kind of support from consumers as you would like. Many times you get a feeling that people respond in a way as if you're fighting a small man. Yeah. Our job is not to fight a small man. Our job is to ensure that what a small man is doing is not going to hurt us, because the cost of treating an illness is exorbitant. The cost of a life, we cannot put a value on that. And so when people consume foods that are contaminated and they die through a food infection or food poisoning, how do we compensate for that? And therefore, we want the public to support us in our efforts, in our activities. When, like, what we're saying is, this Sunday there is Journée Creole, and we're saying that every booth that is going to be selling foods for consumption must be licensed by the Ministry of Health. When you go there and it's not licensed, don't purchase the product.
We're due for a break. We'll take our final break right now. When we come back, we'll continue with Park and Reynold, environmental health specialists, and deal with the Ministry of Health on Newsmaker Live. Thank you very much for staying tuned to this program.